Marcus Chen wiped down the counter of his small coffee shop for the third time that morning. At 28, he'd learned that keeping busy helped calm his nerves. Today was his first day working at Billionaire, a cozy cafe in downtown Seattle. "You missed a spot," said a voice. Marcus looked up to see a woman about his age, with warm brown eyes and paint-stained jeans. She smiled, pointing to a coffee ring he'd actually missed. "Thanks," he laughed. "First day, I'm Marcus." "Emma, I'm a regular here. Art studio's right across the street." She glanced at the menu board. "Can I get a vanilla latte? And maybe go easy on yourself. Everyone misses spots on their first day." Something about her kindness made Marcus smile genuinely for the first time in weeks. As he made her coffee, they talked about the neighborhood, her artwork, his new start in the city. What Emma didn't know was that Marcus Chen wasn't really starting over. He was hiding. The real Marcus Chen was Marcus Chen III, heir to Chen Industries, a tech empire worth $8.3 billion. And he was exhausted from people who only saw dollar signs when they looked at him. Over the next 3 months, Emma became part of Marcus's daily routine. She'd come in every morning at 7:30, order her vanilla latte, and they'd talk while he worked. "So what brought you to Seattle?" Emma asked one rainy morning, the cafe quiet between rush hours. Marcus had his story ready. "Needed a change. I was working in tech, but it felt empty, you know. Decided to do something simple for a while." It wasn't entirely a lie. He had walked away from his corner office, frustrated after his ex-girlfriend sold their private engagement photos to a tabloid. That's when Marcus realized he'd never know if someone loved him or his bank account. "I get that," Emma said, stirring her coffee. "Money isn't everything. I barely make rent with my art, but I wake up excited every day. That's worth more than any salary." Marcus felt a pang of guilt, but also something else. Hope. Here was someone who valued what he valued. "Would you want to grab dinner sometime?" he asked, surprising himself. "Like not here, an actual restaurant." Emma's face lit up. "I'd love that, but fair warning, I'm a cheap date. I know all the best taco trucks." Their first date was at a food truck near the waterfront. Marcus had forgotten what it felt like to split a $15 meal and feel completely content. Emma told him about growing up in a small town in Oregon, how her parents worked 3 jobs between them to support her art school dreams. "They taught me that what you do matters more than what you have," she said. Marcus found himself sharing real stories for the first time in years, about feeling pressured by family expectations, about losing friends who only wanted access to his lifestyle. He kept the details vague, but the emotions were true. "You're different from guys I usually meet," Emma said, looking out at the water. "You actually listen, you care about things." Over the next 6 months, they became inseparable. Marcus used his savings, not his trust fund, to take Emma to museums, concerts, and yes, more food trucks. He helped paint her studio on weekends. She taught him to see beauty in simple things he'd overlooked his entire life. One evening, in her tiny apartment, Emma showed him her latest painting, a portrait of him laughing while making coffee, sunlight streaming through the cafe windows. "This is how I see you," she said softly. "Happy, real." Marcus pulled her close. "I love you, Emma." "I love you too." He meant to tell her everything that night, but the words wouldn't come. What if this perfect thing shattered? The lie might have lasted forever, if not for Marcus's brother. Daniel Chen walked into Billionaire on a Tuesday morning, flanked by 2 assistants, his $1,000 suit completely out of place among the cafe's mismatched furniture. "There you are," Daniel boomed. "Do you know how hard you are to find when you turn off your phone? The board meeting is in 2 hours. Dad's furious." Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. Emma was at her usual table, her coffee cup frozen halfway to her lips, her eyes wide. "Daniel, not here." "Not here. Marcus, you're the CEO. You can't just disappear and play barista for 9 months." Daniel finally noticed Emma. "Oh, is this what this is about? Another girlfriend adventure?" Marcus moved toward Emma's table, but she was already standing, backing away. CEO, she whispered. Marcus, what is he talking about? Emma, please, let me explain. Explain what? That you've been lying to me for 9 months, her voice cracked. Who are you? Daniel, finally reading the room, tried to help. He's Marcus Chen, of Chen Industries, worth about $8 billion. It's been all over the news, billionaire heir missing. Emma's face went pale, then red. I need to go. Emma, wait. But she was already running out the door, the bell chiming mockingly behind her. Marcus found Emma at her studio that evening. She'd been crying, her eyes were red, and paint was smeared on her hands like she'd been working furiously. Emma, please, just let me explain. Explain what? She spun to face him, anger and hurt in her voice. That everything was a lie, that while I was worried about making rent, you were a billionaire playing dress-up. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Marcus? Or is that even your real name? It is my real name. He stepped forward, desperate. Emma, everything I told you about how I felt was true. I was drowning in my old life. People only wanted me for my money. I needed to know if someone could love me, just me. So you made me the experiment? Emma's voice broke. Do you know how stupid I feel? I took you to food trucks because I thought we were the same. I split checks because I thought we were equals. But you were probably laughing at me the whole time. No, Marcus grabbed her hands. Never. Those were the happiest moments of my life. You taught me what real happiness felt like. You saw me, Emma, the real me. Emma pulled her hands away, tears streaming down her face. The real you is someone who lies. Someone who let me fall in love with a person who doesn't exist. He does exist. I'm still that person. That person works at a coffee shop and lives in a studio apartment. That person doesn't have private jets and board meetings. That person was fake, Marcus. She walked to the door and opened it. I need you to leave. I need to think. Marcus returned to his penthouse for the first time in 9 months. The marble floors, the floor-to-ceiling windows, the art worth millions, it all felt cold and empty. He threw himself into work, taking back his CEO position. But in every meeting, he found himself thinking about Emma. The board discussed quarterly profits, and he remembered her excitement over selling a painting for $200. His assistant brought him a $5 espresso, and he thought about the imperfect lattes he'd learned to make. Emma, meanwhile, couldn't focus on her art. Every painting came out angry, confused. Her best friend, Sophie, finally intervened. Okay, I've watched you destroy 6 canvases. Talk to me. Emma told her everything. So let me get this straight, Sophie said slowly. A billionaire fell in love with you for real, and you're mad. He lied to me, Sophie. Did he, or did he just not tell you about his bank account? Sophie sat down beside her. Look, I'm not saying what he did was right, but Emma, think about it. You fell in love with him when you thought he was a barista. He fell in love with you knowing exactly who you were. Doesn't that mean something? It means he didn't trust me. Or it means he's been hurt before and was scared. Sophie squeezed her hand. You told me yourself you loved him for being real, for listening, for caring about things that mattered. Is he suddenly not those things because he has money? Emma wanted to say yes, but she couldn't. Emma decided she needed to see Marcus's real world to understand who he actually was. She found the address of Chen Industries online and took 2 buses to get there. The building was intimidating, glass and steel, 60 stories high. In the lobby, a directory listed Marcus Chen III, CEO on the top floor. She almost left, but then she thought about how he'd helped her paint her studio, getting cheap paint in his hair, laughing when they couldn't figure out how to open the windows. That person had been real, hadn't he? The elevator ride to the 60th floor felt like forever. Marcus's assistant looked up in surprise when Emma gave her name. 5 minutes later, Emma was being ushered into an enormous office with a view of the entire city. Marcus stood when she entered, hope and fear battling on his face. Emma, I need to know something, she interrupted, and I need you to be completely honest. Can you do that? Yes, anything. Were you ever planning to tell me? Marcus was silent for a moment. Yes, I was waiting for the right time, but honestly, I was scared. Every day that passed made it harder. I knew I was making it worse, but I couldn't risk losing you. You lost me anyway by lying. I know. Marcus's voice was thick with emotion. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Emma. I made a selfish choice and I hurt you. You deserved the truth from the beginning. Emma walked to the window, looking out at the city. Show me your life, the real one, not dinner at expensive restaurants or trips to Paris. I want to see what your actual days look like. Then I'll decide if we have anything real to save. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus let Emma see everything. She sat in on board meetings where millions of dollars were discussed casually. She met his parents, stern, accomplished people who clearly had very specific expectations for their son. She saw the pressure he was under, the constant demands, the way people treated him differently. But she also saw him donate anonymously to struggling artists through a foundation he'd created. She watched him fight his board to implement better worker conditions at Chen Industries factories. She saw him spend an hour talking to the building's janitor about her daughter's college plans. Why do you do this? Emma asked one evening, after watching him turn down a major deal because the other company had questionable environmental practices. You could make so much more money. Money I don't need, Marcus said. My grandfather built this company from nothing. He always said wealth was a responsibility, not a privilege. I took this job seriously after spending 9 months learning what really matters. Emma realized something. The person she'd fallen in love with hadn't been fake. He'd been Marcus without the pressure, without the expectations. But this Marcus, the one trying to use his resources for good, he was real too. I want to show you something, Emma said. Emma took Marcus back to being there, then to her studio. But she also took him to her parents' house in Oregon, a small, warm home where her mother still clipped coupons and her father still fixed things himself instead of buying new. So you're the boy who hurt our daughter, Emma's father said directly. Dad, Emma protested. No, he's right, Marcus said. I did hurt Emma. I was scared of being used for my money, so I hid who I was. But in doing that, I didn't give Emma a chance to know the whole me or to make her own choice. I'm hoping she'll give me another chance to do this right. Emma's mother studied Marcus carefully. Money doesn't make people bad, but it can make them forget what's important. My daughter values honesty and kindness. Can you give her that? Yes, ma'am, I can, and I will. Later, as they walked through Emma's childhood town, she said, My parents didn't have much, but they had trust. Complete trust. That's what I need, Marcus. Not your money or your world or my world. Just honesty. I know, Marcus said, stopping under a streetlight. Emma, I can't promise I'll never make mistakes, but I can promise I'll never lie to you again. And I need to know, can you accept all of me? The guy who wants to make lattes and the guy who runs a company, because they're both real. Emma took a week to think, not about whether she loved Marcus, she knew she did, but about whether she could build a life that bridged their worlds. She called him on a Sunday evening. Can you meet me at Bean there tomorrow morning, 7:30? Marcus was there at 7, his heart pounding. When Emma walked in at exactly 7:30, she was carrying a folder. I've been thinking, she said, sitting at her usual table. You started a foundation for artists. I want to work with it, not as your girlfriend, but as someone who knows what struggling artists need. A real job with a real salary that I earn. Marcus nodded slowly. Okay. And we split dates 50-50. I know what you're worth now, but I need to feel like an equal partner, not someone you take care of. Okay. And you have to come to my studio and paint with me once a week, not as a billionaire trying art, as my boyfriend getting paint in his hair. Marcus smiled. Okay. And one more thing. Emma reached across the table, taking his hand. No more secrets, ever, about anything. If something's bothering you, if your family's pressuring you, if you're struggling, you tell me. That's the deal. Deal, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. Emma, does this mean? It means I love you, both versions of you, the barista and the CEO. But I need you to love both versions of yourself too. Can you do that? Marcus thought about the past year, the freedom he'd felt serving coffee, the purpose he'd rediscovered leading his company. With you, I think I can. 1 year later, Emma stood in her new studio, not huge, but bigger than her old one, paid for with her salary from the Chen Foundation. Her latest exhibition had sold out, and critics were calling her a voice for authentic human connection in a materialistic age. Marcus walked in, still in his suit from the office but already loosening his tie. Ready for our painting date. Always, but you're going to hate what I'm making you paint today. As long as I'm with you, I don't care if it's abstract blob art. They painted side by side, talking about their days, her meeting with a young artist the foundation was supporting, his frustration with a stubborn board member. Emma had paint on her nose. Marcus had it in his hair. When they finished, Emma stepped back to look at their canvases. You know what? You're getting better at this. I have a good teacher. Marcus pulled her close. Thank you for giving me a second chance, for seeing me. Thank you for letting me see you, all of you. They'd learned that love tested by wealth wasn't about money at all. It was about trust, honesty, and accepting every part of each other, the simple and the complicated, the ordinary and the extraordinary. Marcus still made Emma coffee some Sunday mornings at Billionaire, when the regular barista led him behind the counter. Emma still took him to food trucks, though now they could afford any restaurant in the city. Because they'd discovered something that no amount of money could buy. A love built on truth, tested by challenges, and stronger for having survived them both.